Chapter 2, Act 6, aka the 2.4 patch in Wuthering Waves, did so much right. So to properly talk about it, I'm going to go through everything that happened in the second half of the 2.4 patch, with, of course, big spoilers ahead. It begins with an ingenious use of Lupa's idle animation, giving her something interesting to do in the cutscene while she waits for Rover to meet her. Having just won the Great Aegon together with Rover, the Lioness of Glory, Arsinosa, appears before them, with slightly terrifying jiggle physics considering she appears to be made of stone. Arsinosa heads to the Vale of Glory, what is essentially a graveyard for heroes in Septimont, because Rover senses some kind of power coming from that direction. Upon arriving, Rover gives this entire recap, which is actually kind of nice since the patch was split into two halves, after which Lupa asks Rover if there's something that they want to say. Of course, because it's me, I chose to doubt her and be mean, so here's what she says when you do that.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Oh, is that so? I don't know what's weighing on your mind, but you accepted my invitation, and we fought as one in the arena. As a warrior, I trust the clash of steel far more than words.
Oh no, she was so sad! How could this have possibly happened? Eventually, with Arsinosa's help, Rover and Lupa discover the entrance to a strange place. And Lupa notes that it doesn't seem to be the first time she's been there. Inside is this beautiful space-like structure, with, might I add, an absolutely gorgeous floor. But something seems to come over Lupa and she thrusts her spear into the orb, forcing the dark tide to come out of it. This causes Lupa to transform into the corrupted version of Mia, who then attacks Rover immediately. However, Rover isn't having any of it and gives back Lupa's role in the story, separating both the characters. Rover reveals that Mia is actually the Threnodian, and then places their total faith in Lupa to fix what's wrong with the story that's been concocted by Cristoforo. A beautiful sequence plays with this gorgeous art, showing what's going on from everybody's perspective. And then Lupa wakes up, seemingly alone, but she still has what Rover left for her. The book Frolova gave Rover, and the item that Bulin gave Rover. All of a sudden, Lupa remembers everything, and decides she can't be in the real world. In fact, everything that's happened is a Sonoru created by the Fraxidus, and it's been repeating over and over. Each time, a monstrous half-human, half-sea creature grows bigger and destroys Septimont. But the pages of the book keep overlapping, so sometimes versions of events from one version of this fake history overlap with others, which is why Rover has been seeing Mia instead of Lupa at times. So where does Cartathea come into all this? Why was she with Lupa in the past? Well, it turns out that Cartathea saved Lupa and changed her hopelessly doomed repeating fate. And she's exactly what led Lupa to Rover in the first place. Which, by the way, is a really nice turn of events. A lot of the time, Rover just happens to bump into the most important character around, just because, I guess, because Rover is lucky, because Rover is important. But this meeting was not orchestrated by fate. It was orchestrated by Cartathea. And there's just something nice about that. Thanks to everything that's transpired, the energy supply from the central hub, which is that weird space area, has been cut off to the Threnodian. And we learn that instead of allowing themselves to be the protagonists and murdering Lupa, Rover places complete trust in Lupa and allows Lupa to end the story her own way. And this is so huge for the story of Wuthering Waves. And if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It helps a lot. I say this every time, but Wuthering Waves' story is at its best when characters other than Rover are allowed to make decisions and have impact. 2.4 has by far been this game's best showing of that. And it culminates in this moment where Lupa actually gets to be the main character for a while. Oh, it's just excellent. If you love Lupa, you are eating so well. And if you didn't love Lupa to begin with, there's a great chance the story will make you love her. And so, as Lupa journeys, she relives some of her old memories from a previous loop, the loop with Cartathea. Lupa explains how beautiful Septimont is, and ultimately promises Cartathea that she'll do her best to find Rover, not that she ends up remembering any of this. Back in the present, Lupa realizes she only regained her name that she had lost by the time she was talking with Cartithia, thanks to Rover's help. Realizing that the only way to go forward is underwater, she resolves to drain the water from the city. After a gameplay segment that was perhaps a little bit too long, she does so, and she uses an elevator to descend into the underground aqueducts of Septimont. Using Buling's copper mirror, Lupa watches scenes from the past. In one, she witnesses Domina Julia speaking to Cristoforo. It turns out that Domina Julia fished out Mia's deceased body from the water and gave it to the Fractsidus. But surprisingly, rather than being motivated by greed or having a powerful house, Julia believes she is doing what she does for the sake of everybody in Septimont. Naturally, she inquires why the Fractsidus would want a dead woman from the sea, and Cristoforo replies that Mia is the heart of the unit they intend to build within the underground aqueducts. For their purposes, it doesn't matter whether she's alive or dead, and he charges Julia with covering up this place and presumably keeping the water levels too high for anyone to reach. As it turned out, Mia was another girl from Raguna, who was intended to be exactly what Cartithia turned out to be, a good host for the Threnodian. However, Mia failed. Ultimately, she was too weak, and so, as we learn in the next projection where Cristoforo speaks to Frolova, Mia ultimately took her own life so that she would stop losing control to the Threnodian. And it seems that because of those powers, even though it's been a long time since she had died, her body remained practically unchanged. In this conversation, Cristoforo divulges his plans to start creating the turn of events that would ultimately lead us to this situation. As he says, he wants to create a story for the Threnodian to enable it to fulfill what it once sought, to have the Dark Tide swallow Septimont whole. The Threnodian tried to do this a long time ago with Mia, but ultimately failed because Mia chose to take her own life. Something that Frolova seems to be quite sad about when she hears Cristoforo talking about it so garishly. Cristoforo thinks the whole thing is beautifully tragic and poetic, but Frolova isn't having any of it.
I don't care for your taste, Cristoforo.
Her intentions really have been kept quite mysterious all this time. She worked closely with the Fractsidus and engages in countless horrifying human experiments. Yet at the same time, she feels empathy. Knowing that her story is about to be revealed in the next patch, I truly wonder what direction they're going to head with it. Cristoforo really has been such an interesting villain in this whole saga. It's a shame that he clearly has an NPC design with NPC level animations, because I think a playable character who's done the kinds of insane things that he has done and reveled in would be really interesting. After all, nothing in the playable cast is really canon. For example, we know that Camellia stays behind on the Black Shores and doesn't follow Rover to Raguna, and yet you can play as her anyway. So canon shouldn't matter when it comes to who's playable, in my opinion. Anyway, Cristoforo says he doesn't really care if Rover ends up succeeding because that would be exciting as well. Then Lupa sees one final flashback. This time it's the lingering Mia within the Threnodian. She's still there, she's still suffering. After all this time, she never got to rest. The Threnodian, of course, has no sympathy for her, calling Mia a fading reverberation. The Threnodian clearly believes that Cartithia and Mia owe her because they are her daughters. The reveals that not only did Mia take her own life, but that she has been made to suffer every day since then under the cruel thumb of the Threnodian. I think Wuthering Waves finally managed to make a heartbreaking NPC story, one that you can truly feel for. And at the same time, it goes to show how cruel the Threnodian can be. I really loved these moments, and I loved that it was Lupa who got to see them. This culminates in Lupa's soliloquy, if you will, about how she always felt shame because she was gifted and others fell behind and were broken. She had always wondered, without her gifts, could she have reached where she did without dirtying her hands? But thanks to all these revelations, that's not how she feels anymore. She realizes how important it was that Rover and Cartithia put their complete faith in her, and how inspiring Mia's story was. Lupa resolves never to underestimate anyone or herself again.
I've underestimated others. And I've underestimated myself too. But you! The arrogance! thinking you understand the darkness in people's hearts, but you don't have a single drop of life in you!
After giving the Threnodian puppeting Mia's body a verbal smackdown, they both jump into the pages of the book. There, a really cool scene plays where you walk forward and lines appear on the page. Unfortunately, I feel the vibe was really killed by the move forward command and the ping in the top right corner. Why? Why does the ping show randomly? Nobody wants the ping. Please, I'm trying to stay immersed here. This scene is so cool. Anyway, the Threnodian transforms and Lupa swears to slay it. It turns out the terrifying creature we've heard about is just a glorified recolor of Morning X. But, I mean, that's fine. It makes for a cool final boss moment, so who cares? The music in this section is awesome, by the way, and it continues to be awesome in this beautiful cutscene where Lupa has one final battle against the normal, original Mia. Of course, Lupa wins. Mia was never that strong anyway, but Mia can finally go down smiling, proud of being a gladiator. Meanwhile, on Rover's end, they manage to defeat the Threnodian too. And then suddenly we get a glimpse of Scar. Scar is here? Huh? What? Just no explanation. Just Scar. Scar is here, because why not? And it seems Scar's card is what protects both of them from Cartathia's ginormous slash. Lupa is then freed from the book, which disintegrates, and she meets up with Rover and Cartathia in the real world at last. The CG where they all hug is so precious. This story really made me feel like they were all connected, that they were all friends. And in huge part thanks to Cartathia's journey with Lupa that was shown over and over. You can then talk to Cartathia and Lupa for more details about what happened, and afterwards everybody returns to the central hub once more. It seems that the reason the Threnodian wanted access to this place so bad is because the Sentinel stored some important memories here. This, of course, is the impetus for Rover to go to the next area in the next patch, the hunting grounds. Cartathia, recalling what Lupa had said to her in a past story, says that she wants to go see Septimont with Lupa. Lupa is, of course, really excited to do so, but wants to do one last thing first. And then we see Lupa leave Mia's blade in the Veil of Glory, in the very place where warriors' blades are left to rest, near Mia's favorite flowers. It's a very bittersweet ending to a very bittersweet story, and it's easily the best told story that's been in Wuthering Waves so far, in my opinion. The character interactions alone carried it. But wait, the book reveals one more thing that I'm surprised wasn't a cutscene. It's a small moment about Frolova. Titled Gem, it says, "The world is collapsing. Pages curl as fiction slips away from reality. Frolova stands silently upon the still waters, bending to retrieve an unfamiliar object from the depths. It is a gem. Originally from Raguna, this gem passed through many hands before reaching Septimont, brought here by a young girl. To avoid drawing attention to the faith the jewelry symbolized, she had the gem removed, melting down the gold to forge it into a gladiator's helmet. The gem's natural cerulean hue has been tainted a deep purple and bears the mark of tidal blight. Deep within the crystal's depths, the silhouettes of fish drift slowly. Before the scripts burn and fade into oblivion, Frolova takes the gem from Mia's helmet." I'm not exactly sure why this wasn't its own cutscene, but I'm guessing it's because they wanted to explain somewhere that Mia's jewel had religious significance and had been tainted, and they didn't know where else to put it or how to get the point across visually. In any case, it's a teaser of what's to come with Frolova's story in patch 2.5. Which, by the way, I am looking forward to so much because Frolova has been my favorite character in the whole game since CBT 1, which was like 2 years ago. And I need her. I need her so bad. And if 2.4 is anything to go by, I am truly hopeful that 2.5 will be excellent. But how did you feel about the 2.4 story, and do you think it's Wuthering Waves' best offering yet? Or perhaps you have a soft spot for another chapter? If all this has left you wanting more Lupa, you can find a comprehensive yet unusual review of Lupa in this video.